Welcome everybody once again to our Suidlanders chat program with me and Simon Roche. I'm at the moment in Namibia and Simon obviously is still in Russia today. And but nothing will deter us from doing our Tuesday and Thursday talks. And hi Simon, hope things are well your side.
Yeah, things are well here, Marius. I'm very fortunate to be able to experience this magnificent country, and my tummy is full because I'm an invited speaker at this very fancy forum. So I've been scoffing like somebody who's never seen food in the special dining room. No, it's not true. I haven't been making a pig of myself, but I did have an extra portion of chicken and avocado salad after my lunch.
Okay,
So
nice,
things are
nice, nice. Yeah, yeah, Simon. I don't know if you want to jump straight into it. What's been going on this week over the world's news that you can enlighten us?
well. I think the big subject, Marius, continues to be the US slash NATO slash Ukraine attack on Russia's one leg of Russia's nuclear triad. You correctly brought it up as the hot topic last week, and it hasn't abated as a topic.
Hmm.
Here in Russia, the reaction is sort of stoic, but elsewhere in the world, I'm just going to adjust this a little bit. Elsewhere in the world, particularly in the USA and Europe, it continues to be a very, very hot topic. Interview after interview after interview after podcast after you name it is continuing to be done because as Alistair Crook, the former British diplomat, and I think he was in MI6 too, said in an interview yesterday, it's simple. Vladimir Putin knows that Donald Trump is lying. Donald Trump knows that Vladimir Putin knows that Donald Trump is lying. But Vladimir Putin is sparing him the embarrassment. He's trying not to play any cards. He's just playing along with the Americans' lies because that allows him not to play cards. He's keeping all of his cards close to his chest, and he will play sooner or later. But as Alistair Crook said, there is no way that Donald Trump had absolutely no clue. Technically, yes, there could be a rogue element within the US government that is doing this all by themselves. But he said it simply doesn't work that way, that you attack Russia's nuclear triad, and you don't say to the president in advance, by the way, sir, we know that you want to have plausible deniability. In other words, believable deniability. Therefore, we won't tell you all of the details, but something big is going to happen in the next few days. This is part of Project X or Operation Y or whatever the secret code word is. But he said it's naive of people to believe that there could be some super duper rogue element within the US government that did that and expected to get away with it with the president. In other words, if you did have a rogue deep state element that was executing black ops without the knowledge of the president, you would only be able to get away with one or two. At some point, between the president and the Senate and the intelligence committees and what have you, you're going to get rooted out. And that'll be the end of it. You will have played all of the cards that you can play. Therefore, according to Alistair Crook, there is no question that Donald Trump did know about it. And he was lying to Vladimir Putin's face. As I said to you last week, there are only two possibilities. He didn't know about it, and that means the White House or the US government is a circus, and he's not in charge of it. Marius, just excuse me, it's warm inside here. It's summer in Moscow. And the other option was that he didn't know about it. I beg your pardon. He did know about it, and he's lying. And we were correct, apparently, and certainly according to Alistair Crook. And it's big, Marius. You know, attacking a nuclear powers triad while one leg of the triad, in this case the aircraft, while the aircraft are on the ground, as they're required to be in terms of the START treaty. There's a treaty called the Strategic Arms Reduction Talks. Initially, START stood for Strategic Arms Reduction Talks. Those talks then became a treaty, and the acronym START came to stand for Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty. In terms of that treaty, the USA and Russia are both required to park their nuclear bombers in the open so that they can be monitored by the other side's satellites at all times. So you get your buddy to put his stuff out in the open, and then you go and bomb it. It's big. And so a week later, this is still the main concern of the world. This is the thing that we should all be keeping an eye on. The general consensus is that Russia is going to hit back and hit back hard. But as I said to you last week, there's every chance that they will hit back in a manner that you and I will never observe or never know. We may observe it, but not understand what lies behind it. A bit like the pranging, the colliding of that ship into the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Delaware last year. Yeah. Where it was completely hijacked by a third party. The captain lost all control of all systems, including the shutdown systems. And it was driven into that bridge. Whether it was done by the Chinese or by the Russians, one way or the other, they pulled off something enormous there. It may be something like that. In which case very few people will ever understand what really happened. Or it may be something more overt. But in any case, here in Moscow, people are, Marius, they're unperturbed as far as they're concerned. This is another day of dealing with the West. This is the COVID crisis all over again. This is the vaccine story all over again, where every effort that they made to contribute was completely excluded, including them inventing the first and best, least harmful vaccine. The World Health Organization flatly refused to allow the Russian vaccine to be used to treat people in the world, and therefore it was restricted to Russia and maybe some satellite states. So it's just more NATO, Western, excuse my language, bullshit. And the Russians know it. And so everybody's carrying on about their business with the attitude that, don't worry, this will be sorted. This too shall be avenged. In the meantime, we might as well just carry on with our lives. So it's quite impressive to see how well the society is dealing with these enormous things. I mean, nuclear powers attacking one another's nuclear forces. It's beyond enormous. I'll just end by saying, Marius, I said to you last week that I believe that the Ukrainians were not lying when they said it was 41 aircraft. I said to you, I think it's a certain number of strategic bombers, perhaps 7, plus other aircraft. And I said that I'd seen a number of videos from different angles that appeared to show different events.
Yeah.
it's now coming out that that was all sort of trick photography, and that the number of aircraft harmed was at the most 13, but probably less than 10. So I think it's important to admit to being incorrect and giving people the correct information, Marius.
Yeah, I think that is always the aim that we have tried to take in these chats, is to say as much about the truth. Doesn't matter if it hurts which side, or it promotes the other side, or it doesn't matter, as long as it's the truth. And always saying, listen, yeah, on this or this, we had it wrong. Sorry about it, but at that stage we thought that is the complete truth. And I think that's why a lot of the people like watching us talk about the world stuff, is because we don't have a bias towards anybody, really. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So no, okay, that's interesting, Simon.
yeah, yeah. I'm at the Moscow Future Forum. For those people who don't know, who haven't heard yet, it's being held. Oh, goodness me, I forget the name of the center. Anyway, it's a very, very smart event. There's some very big characters here. We've had the privilege of being invited to, we haven't requested any meetings, but we've been invited to speak with various people. A short while ago, I held a meeting with the deputy president of the Donetsk People's Republic. It was just he and me, one-on-one. Other people were invited to leave so that we could speak privately, but with an interpreter, I should say. And that was a very convivial conversation. And he's offered us some help, which is terrific. It's quite the theme of this could be reduced to the word conservatism of this forum. It is discussing family, demographics, Christianity, the future, how to handle migration, how to stabilize society. Basically, they're holding conversations about not becoming Canada, Australia, New Zealand, the United States of America, and Western Europe, Western and to some extent Central Europe. Very professional, very well staged. And I speak as somebody who spent 25 years in the live event industry, in the niche of big special events. It doesn't make me any better. It was just the niche I landed in, as some people land in the niche of making big trucks, and other people land in the niche of working on a Fiat assembly line. I happened to end up in that channel for 25 years, big, special, one-off, prestigious events. And these guys have done a brilliant job. And it has been fascinating to spend time around conservatives discussing in a kind of a mainstream way their conservatism. In other words, it's not like going to the USA, where if you go to, as we have had the privilege, the distinct and repeated privilege of attending conservative Christian Caucasian conferences of limited size, because most people are too afraid to express their support, and there's no funding, so they can't put on enormous events. Knowing also that you are doing something that is frowned upon by the society in which you find yourself. Here, when I say mainstream, I don't mean in terms of what we know in the West to be mainstream media, mainstream thought, mainstream political parties. I mean, it's here, it's in a big conference room, it has been sponsored, millions of dollars, and very, very powerful, important, influential people are attending. Sergei Lavrov was here. Maria Zakharova was here. I saw her a short while ago. I had a a lovely chat with Pepe Escobar. I've had a good chat with Philip, I want to say Hoffman, but I know the YouTube guy. Yeah, as I say, we held about a half-an-hour meeting, which is a great privilege. Not many people, in political terms, if you get a 10-minute meeting with Donald Trump or whoever the case may be, that's exceptional. We held about a 35-minute meeting, all told, with the deputy president of the Donetsk Republic. Who else have I seen? I've had a lot to do with there's a conservative movement here. And I've had quite a lot to do with the heads of it. I've been invited to a private dinner in the next couple of days. So that's the other big thing that I can report to you. I mean, it's a little bit, it's not quite the same thing as attacks on nuclear bombers, but that's my week, Marius. My week has been thoughts about nuclear war and attending the conference.
Yeah, Simon, I don't think we touched on it last week. If you don't mind, we've got about like 10 to 15 minutes left. Just your thoughts on the little hissy fit between Musk and Trump, and the sort of bridges they cemented now, or built, or saying to the public that they've made up. But I don't think if you call somebody out on social media that he was part of the Epstein Island and that's why the document hasn't come out, that you mend that bridge within a couple of days.
Well, I think before I answer you directly, let me preface my answer by saying anybody who listens to this, if you haven't heard the Michael Wolff interview about Donald Trump, with respect, not with disrespect, with respect, you are not qualified to have an opinion on this affair. It has been buried and reburied and buried again and reburied again. I placed it on my group yesterday or the day before, your WhatsApp groups that I run for Suidlanders, 5 all told, 6. Donald Trump has a very sketchy history with Epstein. There's no question about that. Whether he did X or Y or Z to A girl or B woman or C girl, I can't be sure. I wasn't there. However, he does have an extremely sketchy history with Jeffrey Epstein, and everybody should go to the trouble of watching that interview to get a better sense of perspective on this subject. Elon Musk gave Donald Trump about $250 million for his campaign, and it's generally accepted that he wouldn't have won certain key battleground states if it wasn't for that money. There's a consensus about that. Sensible people say, well, I think he should be president and he's the best man for the job. But in mathematical terms, if he didn't have that $250 million, he probably wouldn't have gotten across the line in Michigan, Wisconsin, etc. Gotten first across the line. So as far as Elon Musk is concerned, Donald Trump owes him. Another kind of given from the Musk perspective is that 1 + 1 = 2. 2 - 4 is -2. Simple maths. And what has transpired, you and I have discussed this, and I'll try to be brief in the interest of time. We've discussed it before. Marius, the previous budget, US defense budget, was $790 billion. Just before Joe Biden left office, he signed an authorization for these odd things can be done. American politics is very opaque and, in fact, Byzantine. He approved that Donald Trump's defense budget would go up by $100 billion.
Sure.
Donald Trump then, just before he came into office, between 3 and 4 weeks before, from about the 25th of December, he began saying things like, I wish for the Congress, I want the Congress to lift spending caps on me, meaning I can spend whatever money I like, whenever I like, however I like. He also said, and I believe that the defense budget should be taken from the 890 billion that Joe Biden has given me to $1.4 trillion. Now, Elon Musk, I'm not a fan of him at all. The AI, the Neuralink, the chip implants in people's brains, as far as I'm concerned, that is Satanism. Not like Satanism, or more or less Satanism, or could be satanic, but we're not sure. Personally, there's no doubt in my mind, and I know that I'm going to turn out to be right, because it's as obvious as looking at the table that I'm leaning on. However, in that devil worshipper's defense, he can count. And he rapidly became frustrated by the fact that he was trying to save money, $50 billion, while Donald Trump was talking about spending trillions. You know, the Doge became an absolute joke. Donald Trump made a mockery of it. And it must be noted that the tech bros, the tech brothers, the Palantir guys, the PayPal mafia, dear me, I can't think of the guy's name for just a minute, Sam Altman, and Peter Thiel and Elon Musk are betting on a tech-driven future that involves trillions upon trillions upon trillions. So they want certain privileges. They want to be written into certain legislation. They want the inside track on certain things. And the long and the short of it was that Elon Musk got the hell in with Donald Trump not giving him certain contracts and spending $1,000 extra for every $1 that Elon Musk saved. It became a mockery. And so Donald Trump got the knock with Elon Musk being a spoiled brat, or maybe not brat, but in wanting to have his own way. So he politely asked him to leave. In retaliation for which, Elon Musk said Donald Trump is in the Epstein files, and the budget, the Build Back Better, beautiful big bill, is a load of nonsense, which of course they are. Those are spending bills, as I've been warning Suidlanders would turn out to be the case for however long. I've been warning everybody about this, and not one single person could see it. But it has turned out to be the case, as it always does. So Donald Trump is hell-bent on spending his way through a spectacular presidency. And Elon Musk is hell-bent on getting the most out of the US government, out of legislation, because the next 40 years of his life, or if they master on top of AI some kind of longevity thing, extending your lifespan, the next 200 or 300 years of his life, in his mind, and whether or not he is the man who colonizes Mars, depend on these things. So you're having a tremendous battle between two very, very dark forces, although sadly, conservatives around the world still seem to believe that Donald Trump is an angel of the light. But that is what has happened. That's definitively the case. I've looked very, very closely at this, done some tremendous deep dives, and spoken to people who know what they're talking about. And there's very little question that that's the truth of the matter.
Yeah, but do you think the friendship that there was is now ruined, and now it will be just professional courtesy from now on?
Marius, can you say that again? You were very soft in the microphone.
I'm saying, do you think that that lovely bromance, that friendship of theirs has ended now, and now it will be just professional courtesies basically between them?
Yeah, yeah. The two big elephants met one another um, properly, as opposed to being passing acquaintances on the African savannah. They met one another properly. They worked under the same roof, and they promptly discovered that they didn't like one another's egos. They had a go at one another. It became clear that they possessed the capacity to destroy one another. So they pulled back from their confrontation, but they will never, ever be friends again. At that level, forgiveness is not part of the deal. Money may turn out to be, but forgiveness will never be.
Yeah. Well, Simon, I see we've got a couple of minutes left from my side. It was lovely speaking to you again. Hope you are still enjoying your Russia visit. I'm definitely enjoying my Namibian visit, and then we'll speak again soon again.
Yeah, let's do that, Marius. We'll speak soon. See you on Thursday.
Yeah, lovely, Simon. Enjoy and cheers, man. Keep well.
Yeah, cheers, Marius. Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye
Bye bye.
bye.